big story this week, I think, because it affected so many people, and maybe more than we were led to believe. I don't know, you tell me. Samsung, famous phone maker, has apologized after accidentally sending an alert to thousands of devices. I think it was Thursday night into Friday. Now, I got two Samsung phones, both cheap ones that I depend on. You know, cheap ones because I don't have a lot of money. So, you know, they do the job for me. A newer one and an older one, they both got this strange alert from an app that I don't use called Find My Phone. And loads of people, I went online, are reporting that happened to them. So what was all this about? Technology expert Guy Cocker is online to us here at Talk Radio, The Unexplained, and may well have the answer. Guy, thank you for doing this. It's the first time that we've spoken. Bit of a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, as you say, you got these messages, but apparently it was a limited amount of people, but it does seem to be fairly widespread. So if you've got a Samsung phone, relatively modern one at least, it's you got this notification that simply said 1-1. Now Samsung has said that it's nothing has happened, it's not been hacked, but it was something that was internal that wasn't meant to be sent out, and that it occurred in the UK alone. But as you said, you know, a lot of people don't really pay attention to all of the apps that are installed on their phones. And this particular app is Find My Mobile, which, you know, in theory, if your phone is taken or stolen, allows you to geolocate it, find out where it is, and disable it in case it's been stolen. But, you know, a lot of people don't check the settings and the privacy settings on their phone. And it was a surprise to them that this was even on their phone. So,
well, no, number one, I didn't know it was on my phone, two of them. And number two, even if it was on my phone, I hadn't enabled it.
Yeah, and then the sort of conspiracy deepens. As you said, you went on social media and saw that this was fairly commonplace. When users had seen this message in the morning on February the 20th, they went in and naturally assumed that their phone might have been hacked or their password compromised. So when they tried to log in online to change their password, they then started to see different users' personal data on the Samsung UK website, which again could potentially be a data breach, which is fairly serious in UK law.
And we have to make it clear that this was not that. This was just something that was erroneously sent. As far as you're aware, Guy, presumably they must have taken steps to make sure that something like that can't happen again.
Well, yeah, you'd hope so. I mean, obviously the nature of these devices is that they're constantly being updated. The new features are being launched. So Samsung and other phone manufacturers do need to do tests to roll out notifications. But it's a pretty serious error of judgment in terms of Samsung UK sending this notification out and making people concerned that their phone's been hacked. You know, if any of your listeners are worried about this, you know, Find My Mobile can be disabled. It can be switched off. But again, this notification went out even to people that are technologically savvy enough to disable this application. And, you know, if you actually really want to delete this app and not have it at all, it's really complicated. I was looking into it.
Oh,
you have to be able to, you have to, it's one of those apps that's sometimes called bloatware, which are installed by default. You can disable it, but you can't uninstall it. If you wanted to uninstall it, you'd need to have quite a bit of technical know-how to be able to download what's known as a ROM or a new image of the Android operating software, then update it, completely wipe all of your data from your phone. So it's a really difficult thing to get rid of.
Right, so most of us wouldn't bother. I certainly wouldn't, but I'm just going to be checking the operation of this app in future just to make sure it's not misbehaving, which I'm sure it won't be. Very, very quickly, we've only got 1 minute to do this, but and it's not really fair to ask you, but I just want to get a quick thought about this. A story that crept under the radar, I think. Google has changed, you know, the end user agreement. The way that this works, it was a European thing. It was a European Union thing that came in a year or so ago. That they are now the privacy stipulations that we all work under, or that they work under, are being changed to the American ones for us because we're not in the EU anymore. What does this mean?
Well, basically, the EU has one of the most stringent data protection policies. Some people might have heard of it, General Data Protection Regulation, which means that companies have to be very, very secure with your data. In the case of British Airways, when they were hacked, they were fined, you know, millions of pounds. So it's a very serious thing. What now we've exited the European Union, the US jurisdiction laws will apply, which are much more lax. They've just introduced something called the Cloud Act, which means that government agencies can access data for criminal investigations, and that in theory could allow the UK authorities to do the same.
And I called it, it's not that, it's the GDPR, of course, which a lot of people have publicized over this last year or so. Do we need to be concerned about that, do you think, just quickly?
I mean, it's a difficult one. You know, it is a good thing for the intelligence agencies to be able to access terrorist activity, but it's also a privacy concern, because what happens on your devices should really stay on your devices. So it depends what side of the argument you fall under. But I think this is going to allow the UK authorities to be able to eventually access your information, or more information than they can currently.
Right, Guy, we'll hear more about this. Guy Cocker, technology expert, thank you for that. This is The Unexplained at Talk Radio.